Welcome to the Fans Perspective Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Angelo Foreman. I have my good brother Christopher Honeycutt with me today. Chris, how you feeling, my man?
I'm good, man. What's poppin', Hoops fam? We back.
It's weird, man, because we usually don't record on Saturdays, but some things happened with my life last week. But we are back in action, man. So we'll get straight to it. We'll get straight to it, bro. So a lot of things that has been in the news, trade rumors, which has been the biggest thing, right? Ja Morant, Giannis. There's been some teams that have had up and down play after we left 2025, and it's leaving a lot of question. And I think a lot of teams are going to have some different movements here moving forward. But what are, I would say, at least three players that you think may need to change the scenery or a new home that may uh, revitalize them going into a new change of scenery?
Bet. Well, if you want, we can maybe snake draft this thing,
Okay,
kind of pinball. But
I'm with it.
the obvious answer is going to be John Morant, right? I think he's low hanging fruit. I don't believe in all of the discourse around him and his personality, only because I don't know him and I don't want to assume the worst about who he is as a person and about his character. I don't think that the basketball fit works necessarily in Memphis. And I just think that he is a guy who desperately needs a change of scenery. I think he's still the same John Morant, particularly when he's healthy. But if you just get him in another environment with a coach who can re-energize him and empower him to be who he is, I think that we may see a different kind of John, or at
A different
least
job.
him going back to who he originally was when he came into the league.
So, to your point, I have mixed feelings about Ja, but I do think he needs a change of scenery as well. One, I didn't like the firing of their coach. I don't know where that
Okay.
came about. Now, I do understand that when front office has certain feels about certain things, they can just say, I don't care what this team is looking like. I have my agenda. This is what we're going to do. And that happens in the
Right.
real world in business. We've seen it at jobs. It happens in general, not just the NBA. Now, my only issue that I have with Ja is how he has responded and how he's been in the media. So I can't speak for off the court stuff. I know he's had those issues. I don't want to bring that up, right? Hopefully he's changed from that behavior. We'll move past that. Um, but my issue is how he's responding in media and how he's going about those things. But again, he's young. Hopefully he can figure that out. But it seems to me that I don't like is he's moving with this nonchalantness of like if
Mhm.
hey, I'm young, people are always going to need me, which, quite frankly, people do.
Kind of an entitled
But
attitude.
but people will only tolerate that for so long, and because he has to be careful because he hasn't been healthy. So when you aren't available, how long is organizations going to be willing to tolerate that? Now, the NBA is such a players' league.
Right.
They would tolerate some of that a lot longer than what an NFL team would, because you can have an all-pro guy and they're like, "We're done." But Zion Williamson, for example, he's one person that I'm like, why is the Pelicans hanging on to this individual? You have a young tandem in Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears. I believe you can push that narrative, push that forward, and see what they can become. And sometimes, like what has happened with a player at a place, just has ran its course. And
Yeah,
I
I agree
think
with
kind
that.
of that's my feel about Ja. I think he needs to change his scenery, but if he doesn't do some internal work where it's like, hey, let me make sure my image is clean. Let me make sure how I'm responding to the media is crisp and on point. Because if I continue to act this nonchalantness that I don't care, right?
Eventually, I'll turn someone off.
How does this mess with my brain? Especially when other younger guys are coming in and you look at this draft class, eventually they will try to push your name out. And I don't want to see that for Ja. Ja is too
Mhm.
talented. We know how skilled he is, and I don't want to see that happen to him. But I'm with you on
That's
that one,
valid.
with Ja.
That's valid.
Yeah. Someone I have on mind, which is kind of in direct correlation of where the trade rumors have been about with Ja going to Miami, but I think Khalil Ware. I would like to see him have a change of scenery.
It's a
Not a
good call.
star, but I think he's a great young piece who can go to a team and play efficient.
Mm.
Now, I'll give you some stats with Khalil. He's averaging basically 12 points, 11.7. He's shooting 54% from the field, 42 from the three, 81 from the free throw, and then he's averaging 10 rebounds. In games he hasn't played, they've been 500.
Mm.
Now, the issue that I keep hearing that Spo has talked about is his professionalism.
I saw that.
Now I appreciate Spo and what he's doing in that organization. They've always been top notch and first class organization. And to be quite honest, I don't know if that organization is always a good fit for every single player.
Right.
I do believe fit and all of that matters. And sometimes the style of how you're coaching someone or leading someone needs to be different for a certain player. And like how the Patriots, right, is going to these football analogies, but
It's a great analogy.
everyone couldn't play in that Patriot system. Doesn't mean you're a bad player, but the system doesn't fit that playing style. And I think Miami Heat is one of those organizations where that how their style of play is, how they coach, how they develop, how they lead, they're not changing that because that is what has made them successful. So he's one person that, man, I would love to see have a change of scenery because I think he's a 20 and 10 guy that just kind of in the system right now that just want to allow him to do it. It's almost like Michael Beasley. He didn't come in with
Mm,
the talent of Michael Beasley, but I mean the data doesn't
the
lie.
potential is overwhelming.
The potential is there. He's a 7-footer. He crashes the boards. He's getting you points.
Mm,
And I just think it
I
may
like that.
just take a different approach from a coach in a front office environment. But that is no knocking against Miami. I just think the fit isn't there for wherever he is. But I do like if he's coaching him hard and if he's sending him on the bench because of certain things that may not deal with the game, then that's him trying to develop him as a man. But we know in the NBA they don't care about. To me, it seems like they don't care about that. To be honest with you, it's about what you're doing on the course. Hopefully, they may do something with him. If not, he's going to have to figure it out quick.
Yeah. Well, I certainly I second that idea around Khalil Ware and around his personal and player development. I agree with you. It
Mhm.
doesn't feel like it's as prioritized as it used to be, and I think that would be a healthy
Mhm.
segue into another conversation related to grassroots development at a
Yeah.
later point in our conversation.
Hmm.
But correlated to why maybe Khalil Ware and John Morant also need a new change of scenery, I think it's also Paolo Banchero. Not for the exact same reasons, but I think that the relationship has ran its course, as you had mentioned
Hmm.
before. Um, the rumblings around his name and around him being put in trade rumors has gotten louder and louder in Orlando.
Yeah.
And I think that he's somebody just stylistically, man, needs a new environment. He is a
Yeah.
heliocentric basketball player who he needs to be the focal point of your offense. And I
Hmm.
don't think that's the direction that Orlando was looking to go anymore.
No.
That period of time that they had with him sitting out and they had the success that they had and the improvement statistically and analytically that they had really showed them a glimpse into what the future could look like as a Franz Wagner led team coupled with Desmond Bain and now this budding star Anthony Black. So they are faster, stronger. Yeah, they're quicker. They defend better. I think that they are a more communicative and glued team when Paolo is not on the
Agreed.
floor. And he looks a little lost out there. So I would like to see Paolo in a new environment as well.
And to your point, bro, and for everyone watching, to hear our perspective about Paulo, this is not us kicking Paulo to the curb and saying he's not going to be a star and this and that. That's not the
Definitely
case.
not.
But I think the days of where if you get a star or a young star, a rising star like Paulo in the draft, it feels like you don't always have to keep these guys because we're seeing these type of guys honestly come in at a high rate now. Like
Yep.
this draft, I'm serious, man. This draft class, this may be one that we're going to talk about for a while.
Yep.
And I'm like talking about like your top 10 picks, maybe 15, all lottery, may have the chance to be a star in the NBA. And it just takes the right person to come in to change the right system. And to your point again with Paulo, I just don't see the fit anymore.
Yeah.
He's a
It's not
he's a
there.
boss. It is similar to me kind of with Giannis, but Giannis is really a point forward. So that's why he's able to make it work. Like Giannis, you need Dame and Giannis didn't work because Dame is not a facilitator and Giannis needs the ball in his hands.
Yes.
And Paulo, to me, it's still hard to understand his playing style. It just seems like it just does not fit. I don't know how I can describe it, but the
He
cohesiveness doesn't seem there in Orlando all the way.
he almost reminds me of like a new age Chris Webber.
A little bit, yeah.
Or if Chris Webber was given the allowance to, had a ball in his hands a little bit more and to play make a little bit more, maybe this is how he would have
The
looked.
version. Mm.
But unfortunately, I don't think that style of, power forward is still relevant in today's game.
Now, this is kind of sidetracked. Do you think that style of play will kind of come back? Because I'm also looking at this draft again with guys like Caleb Wilson, Koa Pete.
Cam
Those guys are
Newton,
almost like true
power
fours.
forwards.
Like they're like traditional fours that we've seen. They can shoot it, but they're not. And maybe just because at the college level, they are just dominating the paint. They're dunking everything. They ain't even trying to get to certain spots and shoot shots. They just bullying past everybody. But it looks like we have some traditional type of guys in this draft, and I'm wondering, does that kind of help change? And it's another conversation we'll get into later about position
Hmm.
with basketball. But do you think that may help him maybe in the future if that kind of changes again? Or does he just need to develop his game a little bit differently?
Well, I think both things can be true. I think that there's
Mm,
still a lot of room for growth and development for Paolo specifically. But to your point, basketball is a ebbs and flows type of game. The style of game transitions and it comes in cycles in and out of style, similar to
mm-hmm.
fashion. And so I think that there could be a future where we start to see the old school back to the basket forwards and bigs still relevant, especially because of guys like Nikola Jokic and Al Prince and Goon. A lot of these
Mm,
overseas guys, because of their footwork and their skill set that they have very early, even Wemby,
mm.
I think it's going to force some of the American bigs to mirror that in the way that we
Yeah.
used to. And so
Mm,
I would look forward to seeing what an NBA will look like where you have a traditional back to the basket forward, but non-traditional guards.
yeah.
And then how do you make that work schematically? So I'd be interested to see what that looks like. But for the time being,
Agree.
I still think Paolo is somebody who probably needs
Okay.
a new change of scenery. And then that leads into my last guy, Demonis
Hmm.
Sabonis, because he is kind of a
Yes.
traditional big. And I think
Hmm.
that he has a skill set that would
He's so
help really
valuable, bro.
any team. Yeah, like
He's
here's
very
so much
valuable.
that he's capable of doing. He's a low maintenance superstar or star. And so he's just somebody else who also needs a new change of scenery. I feel like Sacramento's becoming a new location for careers to go to die.
Bro, like, and I'm even thinking, I know Pacers, everything worked out with them getting Pascal Siakam, but I would have loved to see that tandem with Tyrese and also Sabonis. I think that would have worked very well, just as
Yep.
him and Siakam has worked out. Maybe a little bit differently because Pascal gonna get you. He gonna go get a bucket. Sabonis is gonna get his off the glass and get you a bucket, which is still a bucket nonetheless.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I'm not mad at those at all. A couple others I have. We talked about it and discussed it in the trade, but Laurie Markkinen averaging almost 28 points, 10 boards, and Utah to me, man, you need a special type of team for Utah to really be talked about.
Yeah.
And I don't know what direction they're going. They have a lot of guys on that team. They got a lot. They got
Talent is
Bryce.
definitely there.
The talent is there, but it's just like I think you all need to figure out where you're gonna go. Like they had Colin Sexton. Was Am I tripping? Was Colin Sexton there
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
Colin Sexton was there? We thought he was gonna be there. Then they got rid of him. Jordan Clarkson. He just went there and got buckets, but I'm glad he's in New York now. But to me, I would just love to see Laurie go play some winning ball. I'm not saying exactly where I would put him. I got some ideas, but I don't want to discuss that right now. But Laurie, nonetheless, but I think he's somebody that I don't want to see waste his talent on what he's doing because I think he can still be 22 and 10 guy. Maybe
For
not
sure.
28, but a 22 and 10 on a contending team.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah. He's put
is
up a
there
lot of
any
empty
matter of
stats
fact?
over there, Utah.
Is there any teams before I get to my last person? Is there any teams that you think that you would like to see Laurie?
Damn, that's a great question.
Got a pretty hefty contract. I think, yeah, he's at
Mm.
46, year 246 and 49 and 53.
Damn, so he's kind of expensive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question.
kind of.
That's a good question. Maybe a Middleton team that's in a rebuild stage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as obscure as it may sound, coming off of my tongue, even a place like Washington, where now you
Yeah,
pair
if
him
they
with Trey
could
Young.
with Trey.
Because how old is Laurie?
Oh, he may only be like 27.
Between okay,
He
so
may
I
only be
think
like
him and Trey are
27.
around the same age. I mean, you're talking
Both veteran
about
players.
who've been around
But
the
that's a heavy
league.
cap though. That's heavy cap on that
It
roster.
is. But but one of those types of teams, somebody who's
Yeah.
kind of in the middle of a rebuild, but
But you still
looks
got young
like
players.
there's something on the horizon. Yeah, that could
Yeah.
potentially happen.
I'm not mad at that actually. And you're in the East. It's not like you got to put that roster
Moderate
together and compete in
market,
the West.
that too.
I'm not mad at that.
So I mean, that's just again off the cuff.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not mad at that, bro. And the last person I have is Giannis. To
Yeah.
me, I'm a big fan, bro,
Yep.
of if you
Gotta
have
stay
done
in one
something
spot.
somewhere, I'm okay with you staying in one spot. Even if it doesn't work out, you don't get a ring. Like Devin Booker, again, we've talked about him so much. Like, you need to stay in Phoenix. Don't ever leave.
Yeah.
Unless it's just somewhere you want to go back. Because I think he's from Michigan. If you want to go back home and go to Detroit later on, cool, so be. I don't think any Phoenix Suns fan is going to be mad at that. But you can tell the love is different there. Now, I'm
Right.
not saying that the Milwaukee community doesn't love Giannis, but it also almost seems like Milwaukee's like, bro, we almost want to see you go be
Go somewhere
successful.
else.
It just feels different. As like I never heard Book complain about or make any type of
It's a
hints
really
or
good.
gestures
That's a
that he
really
was
good
trying
point.
to leave Phoenix. You hear this, you've almost been hearing this the last few years with Giannis, like one minute is like, we need to do something, we gotta shake something up, and then it's I'm never leaving, I would never disrespect. Like,
Damn near
and
since
then he talked about the
Budenholzer left.
attention. Yeah, and
Yep.
it's like then he talked about some, hottest commodity right now. And I know he's joking and baiting the media and stuff like that. But it's like, for what? I know he's a winner. I'm never going to question that. He plays hard every single game. He's cut from that same cloth as Kobe, as Russ. Like those guys are just they want to win at whatever cost whatever it takes. But he is somebody. I'm tired of the noise. I don't know who they're going to get to bring there because I don't know. I didn't. You got to have the right people around Giannis. Like to find a Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton right now, like
Ooh.
that's tough. Like that, but that was the match made in heaven for them. Drew didn't need the ball, but he's an excellent player. Chris was just gonna get a bucket. You didn't need him to do anything else. You need him to get a bucket, close out games. But he's almost like in that sense of scores like Katie, where he doesn't need to take 100 dribbles to get a shot. So Giannis is my last guy. I'm like, you know what? I want to see him leave.
Yeah, I think again, like Paolo, I just think the relationship is run its course in Milwaukee. They'll always appreciate him and revere him for what he did in Milwaukee, but I think he has a lot of basketball left, man. It needs to be played somewhere where he can
Yo,
consistently compete,
yo,
for the championship. So yeah, we gotta get Giannis somewhere,
see
man.
what happens. Cool, man. So we'll move on. Something that's also a hot topic right now. We're mid-season, and It's been a little bit of a quiet conversation because of injuries and other things that have happened. But there's other awards that I want us to get into and talk about and just see, hey, Chris, what you
Thanks.
thinking about right now? People, what are you all thinking about some of these awards? But MVP. Who is your front runner for MVP right now? Then who do you think is a close second?
I think by default probably Shea.
And I bet you your
Yo,
second person, we got the same person. Who you got second?
yeah, I mean it would be Jokic still,
So Jokic can't
but see
because of
now
the
ineligible
injury.
because of the injury.
He's out.
Jalen Brown. Jalen Brown
Mm.
would probably be my second pick then,
Okay, I got Cade. I got Cade as a
and
close,
I'm sure for
close,
similar
close second.
reasons.
hmm
Yeah, but
So
I
because
mean,
what Cade is, yeah, Cade. They are still in one in. They're number
they're
one
still
in the
first in
East
the
still,
East,
and
second
Cade
in the league
sets.
overall.
So Cade 26 6 and 10, Shea 31 4 and 6. So to me, honestly, I think you have a few different. I think this will be a really good race once we get past this All Star break because I think you can give reasoning for Shea because he's in a tougher conference. But
Hmm.
also, I think you can give reasoning to K because he doesn't have the same supporting cast that Shea has. So those stats right now are kind of like this. Shea has, and their team has a 3-game advantage over them. But I'm not going to, I don't think voters will shy away from voting in K to have even another storyline maybe going into the playoffs. But, well, they announced it late now, which is stupid. I hate that. But I think that race is going to be a little bit tighter than people think, depending on how Cade and Shea and them finish out the season and finish up the year.
I do. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Jaylen Brown is probably more of a long shot.
Mm-hmm.
He's more of a feel good recipient of the
Mm-hmm.
award. But Cade and Shea, to me, are true contenders for MVP. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to see Cade get it. To your point, it would create more dynamic storylines around the MVP, and would give us
Mm-hmm.
more to talk about during the playoffs, especially if Detroit is able to uh, get past the first and the second round and get close to the
Yep.
Eastern Conference Finals and maybe
They
even
got to get
contend
at that
for
first
NBA
round.
Finals.
They got to
So
get
if they
out.
can do that, then yeah, I think that it will drive really good discourse in a way that we
Mm-hmm.
haven't had in the past few years. But if voters are lazy, I think Shea is
Shea.
an easy, low hanging pick.
It's not a bad thing. Like, we're not saying as
No,
if like Shea don't
he's
deserve it.
still
It's just
balling.
like let's analyze it, right? Let's really look at the landscape of what both of them are doing, what they mean in their teams, and sometimes that can be subjective. But I do think that should take some detail to look at, especially when their stats are so close to each other
Yep.
and you have different dynamics on their teams, different conferences. But you also want to look at the totality of the year. Sometimes I do hate how you get the recency bias, where if Shea drops 60 at the last game of the season, but Cade had a stretch of that before the All Star break, they're going to remember Shea dropping in 60
That's
points,
a fact.
and
That's a
Cade did
fact.
it 4 times in a row before the All Star break. So, but I think that's going to be pretty interesting. I wish Jokic was still in
Me too.
uh, I wish he was still in that race because Denver, man, they're still playing well.
He was gonna
They're
run away
st-
with that shit. The way he was playing,
I think he would have.
he was gonna run away with it.
I think he would have, regardless of the record that they had. So next one we got Coach of the Year.
Easy one. JB Bickerstaff.
Still JB. I'm rocking with
And I
JB.
think he's a resounding coach of the year.
Hmm.
For Detroit to be number one in the East, second in the league overall, and he's
Hmm.
doing it with, Cade and a bunch of young guys. Done an exceptional job in Detroit.
Yeah, I
Incredible
think to me
turnaround.
that's I think to me that's also another clear cut. I mean, I know Mark Dagnall he's doing what he's doing with Thunder, but at this point, it's expected. He's
Yeah,
won
for
his Coach of
sure.
the Year, and so I think it's almost I look at it like MIP. You unless you win this season and you broke the record for wins and losses, then I think you can give it to Mark. But if the jump that Detroit has made, even I would even say similar to Mitch Johnson in San Antonio,
Yep.
right? The jump they made last year, I think they won 34. I think they maybe won 34 games last year. You're
That
already at
sounds right.
28, 29
Yeah.
wins. I know Wimby has some time out, but still, you still figure out how to put the roster together and you building because everyone had thoughts about De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper playing together. They
Right.
didn't have Fox for the good portion of the season. So we can argue and say the Spurs are playing with a completely young group that really doesn't have any experience at all. So I think I would have JB Bickerstaff, but two I would have Mitch Johnson.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And I still don't think that he gets enough credit for taking over, a program that had been led by arguably the
Man,
best coach in NBA history.
and he's doing well.
That is a lot of pressure.
He is
And
doing
then to
well.
have to kind of re reinvent yourself as a head
Mhm.
coach when you've been on that staff as an assistant and kind of
Mhm.
relationships that you've had with the players. Yeah, man, that takes a lot. So he deserves a lot of credit for the work that he's done in San Antonio. The team looks really
Yeah.
good.
And even when they were losing and they didn't have like Wimby and all that, to me that team looked like they were still competing.
Yep.
They were just figuring out because again, they are super young still. So you're talking about a year less of what everyone was last year. And now you add in Wimby, who's healthy. You're adding that dynamic. It changes everything drastically. But yeah, I think we're both aligned with those picks. MIP, to me, this is a clear cut, easy one. I got Denny from Trailblazers. He had a 10-point jump points from last year. All the other stats compared to everyone else is very similar. Michael Porter Jr., Keontae George, all around 6-7 point jumps, and then assists and rebounds are about equal across the board. But a 10-point jump in the NBA, that's a lot. I know people say it's just 10 points. Nah,
A 10-point jump in
nah.
the NBA, that means that you've made an entire transition to how you even play.
Your
10
trainer's
points
about
is
to
a
get
lot, bro.
paid.
Yeah, 10 points is
People
a lot
looking
of
for your
points.
trainer. It's probably about to be a first year All Star as well.
Yep.
In the Western Conference at that too. To me, that's a
Yeah,
clear
he's
cut. There's a lot
balling.
of guys there's a lot of guys deserving of it. But to have that type of turnaround with a coach who wasn't your head coach to start the season and you're still figuring out, so you know what? I'm gonna still get buckets, like without anyone maybe featuring me in their scouting report and making me the main focal point. But he's figured it out, and even now he's still doing it. So, yeah, he's my clear MIP.
Yeah, I don't have any opposition to that. I also had Diddy down. The only other person I probably would have given some real consideration to was Jalen Johnson.
Yes, and I guess I looked at Jalen Johnson because he was hurt last year. I feel like he would have done the same thing last year.
Interesting.
That's the only reason why I'm like, it was almost
So
like
this
when
isn't as
Tyrese
much of
Maxey
a
won MIP. It's like how he win MIP? Like what?
when we already knew that he was
Mhm.
a pretty damn good basketball player. Yeah,
Yeah, because
but
Jalen
I'm with
Johnson,
Diddy.
man, that dude, he's
No, he's special.
and
He's
he's
special.
it's. I'm curious to see. This is kind of sidetrack before we get to the last one, but I'm curious to see what Jalen Johnson and what the Hawks do with that team because
Hmm.
all of them dudes on cheap contracts,
I like the
like
way that they're
all of
building
them
right
on.
now.
Man, if they get it right this summer, yeah, we may be talking about the Hawks here in these next 5 years. They may be able to take a leap, but
And that pick is going to be critical.
man, very very much so. And then last one we got defensive player of the year. So I'll be truthful with you. I honestly hate this award because I feel like this is just give it to a center, give it to a power forward. Like there's never any real consideration of guards. I know Marcus Smart won that, but it was Boston was winning that year, and it was just like, okay, we have a guard on this team that is like known as their best defender. Let's give it to him. But I don't like the way they analyzed that award in my opinion. Like you had someone who led in steals. To me, those steals that Dyson Daniels led in last
Yep.
year, like to me, that is much more impressive than a center getting defensive rebounds because they factor in defensive rebounds
Or
as
help side blocks.
like. So I just think it has to be more consideration. But yeah, defensive player of the year, I could care less who wins.
And
You got
I would
anybody
like to see
specific?
them. I mean, if I'm going off of the eye test, I would probably go with somebody like Casey Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he's had a huge impact analytically on point per game numbers when he's guarding guys. I know
That's what
he's
we need.
affected guys. Yeah, point per game, not only percentage, but just their overall performance whenever he's guarding you as a primary
Mm-hmm.
defender. And I think he's also somebody who generally floats around the top three in steals per game. So it'd be a nice change of pace to see a guard win it. They carry a lot of
And I
defensive
don't.
responsibility.
Cause I think right now the leaders are I want to say go Bears up there. I think Bam,
Usual
Wimby,
suspects.
and right now it's like is it like are y'all watching the games? Are y'all just saying because oh we hear what people are talking about? Let's just put these names in the hat. Like again, that's something else we talked about before. Show us the criteria for how these awards are going to be
Awards, yep.
won. Because the defensive side, I think that is a stat that you can really dive into the analytics of that one. And I think former players, current players, and fans would really appreciate that. And maybe even the defensive player of the year goes to certain positions, maybe.
And that's what I was, or kind of what we had discussed in previous episodes, was
Hmm.
that if you at least give it by position, then that allows you to create a more standard rubric around who even qualifies for Defensive Player of the Year. But the
Yeah,
fact that Case and Wallace has to contend with Wemby and their impact is completely different
completely
defensively
different.
just isn't fair, bro.
No,
Like
because now
nobody in
you're
the
gonna run
league
away
has
with that
Wemby's impact
race.
defensively. Yeah, like what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Like
Like,
these are
so yeah, I think
becoming,
they gotta have a different criteria for sure.
yeah, yeah. It's time to reconfigure some of the awards.
Yeah. So another topic, man. So this is something I don't have a bunch of players, but there's just one that, like, man, I've just been super high on. But is there any player or players that are under 25 that you believe has a chance to be a star, or if they're already a star, you believe they have opportunity to take it to another level?
Yeah. So the first guy I'm gonna go with is Alperen Sengun.
Okay.
When I think about outside of maybe Cade, outside of Wemby, someone who has the obvious stamp of superstar written all over them is Alperen
Hmm.
Sengun. He's an old school big with a new school style to him. I love the way that he fits in the Houston system. I
Hmm.
love him being coached by Ime Udoka and the kind of toughness and grit and um, kind of bully presence that
Hmm.
Ime it empowers those guys to have. It fits him well, and that core around
Absolutely.
him fits him well. And so Alperen is a guy who already is performing at 23 points a game, 9 rebounds a game, 7 assists, and I think still has a ceiling to continue to grow into.
Hmm. And that's because, and hopefully he's learning a lot from Durant, because to your point, I do believe those numbers jump up.
For
And at some
sure.
point, he's going to have to take that leap. Now, I haven't seen any signs of KD slowing down yet, which is scary.
Yeah.
Like, what did he have last night? 39, 40?
Yeah. It's looking really cold.
So
Really cold.
I think he's going to have to continue, to your point. I think for him, it's going to be efficiency. Figure out a way to continue to be
Mhm.
even more efficient in what you are, because right now I still hate Houston's offense. I hate that offense that they have,
Yeah.
bro. It is KD or nothing.
We
Like,
talked about
thankfully,
that.
their defense, man. Thankfully, their defense is just lights out. But that offense, bro, it is so. Sometimes it's ugly to watch,
They desperately need a point guard.
and that's
Like,
something we're
desperately.
gonna be able to talk about that. But they need a point, like point guards. Somebody please bring the point guard back to life.
You
I'm
don't want to look
tired
at
of.
CP? You
I
don't look
don't
at
know if they're
CP
looking.
for
I
cheap?
don't. They may think maybe they're looking at him. Maybe this is a Melo situation. I don't know if they're viewing Chris Paul now as like a cancer.
Wow.
Like, I because when I say it's,
Mhm.
I feel like it's been silent. I haven't heard no Chris Paul talks, and a bunch of teams need Chris Paul, and it's not like you got to do a bunch to get him.
Just give him a call. It's an easy addition.
So
Easy
I
add on.
don't, I don't know if teams are waiting until it just gets
Mm.
very, very close to the trade deadline, but I highly would suggest teams like Minnesota,
Yep.
Houston Rockets to go get a point guard, because Chris Paul's still gonna get, he's still gonna make the three. He's still
Yep.
gonna play defense regardless of his
Yep.
age. Y'all can say what y'all want. Chris Paul's gonna play defense,
On the fan.
and he's going to set everything up. Like, imagine him and Sengun in a pick and roll,
Wow.
and you got KD on the left or to the right. You can, yeah. And then Jabari Smith he's playing much better now. Saw his last couple of games hitting the three better. So hopefully he picks up some momentum too, because they're gonna need Jabari in order for them to actually win some playoff games and try to really compete to get deep into the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Yeah,
mad
he's
at
coming
that.
along.
Anyone else you have?
My other two guys was Dylan Harper and Jalen Johnson.
Okay.
Really high on Dylan Harper.
Okay. Okay.
And he's been a pleasant surprise specifically for me just because I didn't know what to expect when he came into the league. I knew that
Okay.
he would be a guy who would have the natural wiggle and the ability to create offensively and get paint touches and create. Um, but I didn't know how well he would fit into the San Antonio system. And I also didn't know how much he was going to buy into on the defensive end.
Yo.
I thought that also has been a pleasant surprise. He slides his feet really well, and he
Mhm.
competes really well defensively. So Dylan is somebody who I could foresee in the future easily being a 20 and 10 guy, a
Mhm.
perennial all-star. And if not the second option, between the second and third option for a championship contending San Antonio Spurs team.
He's a pro. He's looked like a pro just about since high school. He
It's
really
really
proved
good.
that his year in college at St. John's. But I'll tell you this: I knew Dylan Johnson was ready when he got drafted, and he was like, "I'm fine with being the James Harden that he was in OKC. Why not?"
Yep.
I'm like, and this is somebody who, right now, if you would have dropped him in Washington instead of like Trey getting there, he's averaging 20 right now,
Easy.
probably 21. He's averaging about 8 assists maybe, and he's efficient too because he gets to
Yeah.
the cup so easily. He's going to get
There's
fouled,
so much pressure
and
on
he's
the
also
rim.
going to get them foul calls if he's there and he's actually able to take all those buckets that he wants to take. Um, but I'm with you, man. I'm a huge Al Harper fan. I can't wait to see how he continues to improve his game. He
Yep.
has a good 3-point shot. It hasn't been falling for whatever reason. But he's a rookie. I think sometimes that just
Yeah.
happens with those young guys. Adjustment.
Yeah, I think he still needs to learn, like mechanically, man. You got to learn how to get that shot off a little bit quicker once you get to the league. Guys are longer,
Mm-hmm.
that closeout becomes a lot shorter. But to
Yep.
your point, that'll be something he learns. And then
He'll
we've
figure it
already
out.
talked at length about Jalen Johnson and the potential that he has. I mean, he's a walking triple double
And triple double.
in the literal sense. And he too can have an even greater impact defensively. I think the injury has hampered some of his defensive ability, but once he locks
Mhm.
back in, that team is going to be really dangerous.
They need a playoff push. When I mean
Yep,
playoff push, like you don't gotta. I don't even think you need to win a series, but you need to compete.
it
You need
needs
to
to be
take
competitive.
somebody
Yep,
to 7 games, or I'd even say still around.
yeah,
Still around. I think they have a talented team enough to still around. And I
I
think
agree.
that's what's going to give Jalen Johnson like that confidence. Similar to K last year, and again, we haven't seen what's going to transpire with Detroit this postseason.
Hmm.
But K, they pushed New York to the brink.
Yeah,
But you can see like, okay,
they
he's
was
struggling
knocking
with
on
this
the
stuff. But like
door.
if he starts to figure some of these little things out, K is gonna be fine. And I think he took that postseason and he probably watched a bunch of film and you can see the complete difference on how he's approaching the game now. I
Hmm.
almost look at it. I'm not sure if you remember, bro, but when I want to say Portland when they played Pelicans in the playoff, and I think maybe they got swept,
Was that the
but he
one?
was getting
Oh,
double
okay.
when he was getting double teamed, and like people was like, "Yo, is Dame done?" And I remember that was like he had never really seen those defenses, and after that, Dame
Hmm.
just turned into a menace, right? But I think you need a playoff series like that to get you in rhythm. We saw with Ant. Ant got into that playoff
Yep.
series, and then he hasn't looked back since. It's been progression every single year. And I think that's what it's going to take for Jalen Johnson and the Hawks team to really give them the confidence to say, okay, hey, we know we're walking into the summer. Let's continue to build around Jalen Johnson and get this team together to actually compete in this East because I think the East is still wide open. You'll get
It's
Jason Tatum
yes.
back, maybe even this year. It seems like Jason Tatum's coming back. So we're going to have to be on the lookout if he comes back and plays this year.
Yeah, I agree with you, bro. That if they can get that playoff exposure,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it'll give them the confidence that they need to kind of turn the corner and stay in that playoff conversation.
Because that's where those guys are going to get tested. So yeah, I think they're going to have to get there and do something, compete.
That's it.
Don't get 4-1, not 4-2.
Make it a
I
six,
need you to
seven
either take
game
this
series
6-7 game or
or win
get the win. Yeah, or get the wins.
it.
So speaking about bro, these players that are under 25,
Hmm.
something I know you and I we talked a bunch about off camera, and it's still a huge discussion about grassroots basketball, player development. and like how the tools and everything has changed the way we evaluate skills and how we prioritize skill development. What is your take, and where do you feel like we are at from an American standpoint with grassroots basketball, player development, and how our skill sets are becoming and kind of shaping to be in the pro league here within whatever years, depending on the age of where these kids are playing now?
So I was really excited for us to have this conversation just because I feel like at all levels of basketball, this has maybe been the most consistent and relevant discourse around basketball over the past maybe 5 years has
Mhm.
been, where does American development exist right now? Where does it lie?
Mhm.
And just a thought that I've been wanting to workshop with you. I've been thinking a lot about development in terms of like hardware and software. Okay, when we were coming up, there felt like there was a very heavy emphasis on the software development of the athlete. Software development being, are you capable of understanding every play? Like if you wanted to play varsity basketball, you
Mhm.
couldn't play if you didn't understand the plays. And if you were a point guard, you had a responsibility to not just understand the plays, but understand what everyone's responsibility was on every single play. You need to know what to do if the play broke down. There was a greater intellectual responsibility that you had on that team, regardless of where your skill set or where the hardware existed, right? You had a greater responsibility to understand defensive rotation, right? You were held accountable to talk. You had a greater responsibility to understand what to do off ball, right? If you're at the slot and you're driving down the slot and I'm at the wing, I need to be sliding to the corner, right? These are things that were kind of instituted through not only grassroots basketball, but things you also learn in pickup settings.
Mhm. That's the biggest one,
Nowadays,
pickup.
it's huge. Nowadays, it feels like there's a far greater emphasis on the hardware development. And when I think about hardware, I'm thinking about passing, shooting, dribbling, defensive skill, um, and just skill set creativity.
Yeah. I was
These
about to say
players,
the creativity to me. That's the big one. I feel like is
it's
a
it's
primary focus.
definitely grown, right? But that's a byproduct of going into the gym, being with the trainer, and repping all of these moves against cones, which don't translate to game like scenarios because you and I both know that basketball is an instinctive game. I cannot predict the way the defender is going to respond when I drive left. I can't predict exactly where the help defense is going to come from on the weak side of the floor. So instead of having a prepackaged set of moves, what I need to do is have a greater understanding of how do I read and react to every scenario in the game. And that to me is what is hindering a lot of the progress and development at each level. I just got done coaching at the collegiate level. I promise you, bro, I don't care how talented or how much hardware freshmen have when they transition to the collegiate level, all of them struggle to understand the when and the why. They understand the what and the how. They know what to do. They know how to do it. They don't understand why they're doing it. They don't understand when to do it. And you and I both know basketball is played within the parameters of the why and the when. The what and the how,
That's a
that
byproduct again, like
yeah,
to
that
your
shit is
point
subjective.
of yeah. Mm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you get. I was like that is what you're saying. That is a byproduct of you doing these other things. Like that. That is the foundation. That is a foundational piece that you will get. But these two pieces, you have to understand this, like especially the how and why. Because if you don't understand that, at that point, to me, if you don't understand the how and the why, you are just a talented player who would just be just talent, and you would never be able to really thrive in an NBA system where you may have to play a role. And if you don't understand the how and the why, you're screwed.
I.e., John Morant.
Yeah.
I.e., what's the boy name in New Orleans? Jesus Christ, I just forgot his name.
Zion.
Thank you, Jesus Christ. I don't know why I
Zion.
just blanked on
Yeah.
him. But I.e. Zion. Um, and to some extent, a few other young guys who I think are still kind of struggling to understand the why. Even a guy like Evan Mobley, right? He is a world
Yeah.
class talent, and he still is struggling to understand how to fit in an offense as a 7 footer.
And he's so skilled. He's
So
so skilled,
skilled.
bro. He's so skilled.
But the lack of software development permeates at the grassroots level, both on the boys and the girls side. And really now it's affecting the development from really the middle school all the way up to the collegiate level.
Yo.
Because there's still things that, i.e., someone like Khalil Ware, that coaches are still talking about that have nothing to do with the hardware skill set. We're talking about a guy like in Khalil Ware who could potentially, from Spo's perspective, maybe subconsciously playing poorly, almost on purpose. Like that is the idea you've given your coach that you are. You're so far away from understanding some of the software skills to be a pro that this nigga thinks that you are intentionally
And I know
doing
it's
the
pissing
wrong
off.
things to not play. That is crazy.
I know it's
I've
pissing
never heard a
off.
coach say that. Right? But again, it speaks back to the lack of having that dual development, man. You got to have both. And I think we're going to keep losing the development race to, international players if we don't put a greater emphasis in software.
Do you think, so this is kind of just an extension of what you're addressing, but do you think the lack of pickup basketball versus the training has an impact on that as well, of understanding the game?
It has a huge impact, bro, because what pickup basketball is an uncontrolled environment. Uncontrolled meaning from game to game, you cannot predict what experience you're going to have and what adjustments you're going to have to make. If now you and I, prior to this recording, we're just talking about some of the pickup basketball that you've been playing.
Yeah.
That first game, you might match up against somebody your size who is a really good shooter. Like bro, step across half court and you low key got to put a hand up.
Yeah.
But then the very next game, you might guard somebody who's 6'2", 6'3". And he's long, he's wiry, athletic. He can't really shoot really well, but he can get to the paint. He plays great off 2 feet. And then the next game, you might play a dude who's 6 feet, who is a undersized power forward.
Yeah.
And
he'll be a problem for you. Right? He'll be a problem.
A bull in a china shop. But having those experiences back to back forces you now to make adjustments in real time that has greater correlation to what it's going to feel like playing in an NBA game. Because in an NBA game, if I'm playing 32 minutes, I may initially start out on my matchup if I'm a 2 guard and we're playing Minnesota. Yeah, my initial matchup may be Ant. But then the last 3 minutes in the first quarter, I might be guarding Devontae DiVincenzo. And then the next 6 minutes in like all of those guys are different players. Rob Dillingham, Jalen, Dante DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards. They're all 4 totally different guys. And so, again, like I said, being able to read and react, being able to make real-time adjustments is where the game is played. It is not played in
1,000%.
Preparing a bunch of moves, attacking a cone that's not going to read and react, and repping that over and over again. And if that is where the focus of skill development is going to be in America, we're going to keep losing to the rest of the world because they're playing games. They're playing pickup. They're playing a lot of just good basketball, but they're also doing and simulating a lot of basketball-like scenarios whenever they are training. And that's
so it's like, why not just go hoop?
Let's go hoop, man.
If you can get some guys to come in the training session, why not even I know these guys still got homies that hoop and stuff like that, or know people back in their home cities or wherever you go, but like, hey, set up the sessions. Just, hey, I'm not doing this because I think the individual training, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but our greats that we had, they all talk about how heavily that they played 5-on-5 basketball. We know Michael Jordan, he set that up everywhere he was at. It was 5-on-5. I'm calling Reggie. I'm calling
game calls. Yep.
I'm always setting up the 5-on-5. Even LeBron, he always talked about I'm playing 5-on-5 basketball. Like that's what we grew up on. And to another point, you spoke about with creativity. we see all of these guys do the same moves because again, they only train to do this certain move. It's like even if the defender's in your way, they are spamming that move.
Yes.
And I heard
Yes.
Jamal Crawford talk about like his creativity and Kyrie, their moves look different, even James Harden's, because they practice the shots and certain things, but the creativity comes from just playing five. Like when he did that over Kirk, I think it was
Behind the
over
back,
Kirk
over
Convert.
the top,
Oh, he
on the
said he
fast break. Come
never
on,
he
dog.
never did that. All the stuff Kyrie does, he never did that. Like you just if you are a hooper, I think a lot of those guys, man, you are just playing around because what we grew up on, bro, we ran fives. You even to your point, and I don't know if guys that play professionally, and again, I'm just a fan here speaking, someone who's hoop recreationally, high school, that's it. But the lack of IQ when people play off ball is so concerning to me.
Oh
And
my
this makes me feel
God,
like
bro.
and it makes me feel like you never play fives. Like to me, bro, I learned how to play 5-on-5 basketball by playing with my older cousins, my older brother,
Yep.
because when you are a younger kid and you're on the court with grown men, you're not really touching that ball because you're not strong enough to bring the ball
That
up. So what do you
is
got to do? You are playing off ball. You got to move. You got to cut. I am boxing out at 8 years old, 12 years old.
facts, bro.
I know this is the only way I can get some type of position. And so when I box out, even though I boxed out and he can swim around me because his ball went far and I boxed out, he had to make a different move to adjust. And now I just went to go get the ball. I'll relocate it. It's little stuff like that that you learn as a kid. We're talking grassroots,
Yes.
we're talking AU, we're talking playing fives. Like that is where you learn to be physical. That's where you learn to shoot corner threes because you ain't floating
Yes.
around on top of that wing as a kid and you playing with grown men.
Nobody respects you,
So
bro.
nobody. So like I would hope that because I don't know, bro. I feel like a lot of these younger guys they don't play fives. They didn't like my nephew, man. I love him. I've always tried to get him to come play pickups like fives when I go home, and like him and his guys they haven't done it. Now he wants to, but it's like you in high school now. It's still fine, but you
Right.
needed you needed that experience when it was even more difficult. Like when you were a kid, because that builds confidence. Like oh, I can go
I was
against
just about to say
anybody,
that, bro. I
anybody,
was just about to say that. The confidence
anybody.
that you
They're too
build in a
friendly
pick,
now. Though.
and that's another part of it
They're
too,
too
bro. But
friendly.
you're right. The confidence that you build in a pickup setting when you're going against grown men at 13, 14, 15
Mhm.
is just as valuable as the confidence you build once you're 15 going against your peers when you've realized, man, I'm really good. I can outperform my
Mhm.
peers, right? But there is no way to replicate some of the kind of institutional and instinctive things that you learn from a pickup basketball setting.
You
I
gotta
thought the
run.
boxing out was a great example, right? Because all of that takes is effort.
Effort,
That's
bro.
all boxing out takes. It's effort. You have to give a
Because
damn to do
I'm
it.
not getting a ball, so now I know because I have a disadvantage. I have to do something else extra to have an advantage. I gotta hustle. I gotta play full court.
I gotta get loose
I
balls. I need the
gotta
50
be a
50.
pest. That is stuff you learn as a kid. Like don't let like you have to remember those moments. But if you don't have those moments, again, a lot of these guys maybe didn't do that when they were younger. They probably just trained a lot. Which again, the training, you get the skill that can help you get to the league. But what type of player are you going to be if you don't have those certain development traits and those other intangibles that would have helped build you to be maybe superstar? Again, I think that's what we're kind of missing. We're missing these American superstars, and we got them. And I don't think that European players that are just far more better than us. You have a few
Right.
guys
I
that are
don't
at
think
the
it's,
top where they're very
I
top
agree.
heavy, but come on, like let's not. I don't want. Let's not do that.
Yeah, the margin of talent is
But I
not as
agree with you.
wide, yeah, as a discourse would like to make it seem. I
Yeah.
totally agree. But I think this is
You
a
got a few
very,
guys up there.
and I think this is a very natural segue into another conversation that we were intending on having around what's really missing in
Mhm.
today's game
Yes.
from the generation prior, right? And since we're workshopping, something else that I have been thinking about, and I had pitched this to you when we were in that text thread, but there feels like there's an artificial intelligence about these athletes now, specifically basketball players, that didn't exist before.
Mhm.
And I think it speaks to the lack of personality, versus branding. See, our generation of athletes, Kobe, T-Mac, Vince, D-Wade, Shaq, Timmy, KG, I mean, I could keep going, Paul Pierce. All of these guys had varying personalities. Tim Duncan was totally different from KG, who was totally different from Shaq, who was totally different from even LeBron, who's totally different from Kobe, right? And that authenticity allowed us to drive authentic storylines because there was a real conversation about, is LeBron going to ever be a killer the way Kobe is? Or do we need to redefine what a killer is? Because he is killing, but he don't look like Kobe.
I really miss the puppets that they used to do because, again, what you just said, that dialogue, that discourse of how people try to disconnect those two, bro, you know how golden that was? Because you can see, yes, Kobe is a different person, but also you see Kobe step in the room with LeBron and be funny, but he's serious. But you see LeBron. So, like, they're both dynamic in their own lanes. It's like what Jay-Z said, like, don't try to Michael and Prince, me and Ye.
Yeah.
Like, we're still great. We just do this thing a different way. And you have to appreciate both because you've needed both of those in this game.
Facts.
So I agree with you, bro. It doesn't feel always genuine. It feels like it's just forced and like these guys are just doing such because it doesn't seem like there's a natural, like, even when Tim Duncan would do, it was a bunch of great commercials that we got, bro, with Tim Duncan and Ginobili, like the Spurs when they would do stuff and being funny. We don't get that no more.
Ooh. And I think because I'm so close to the AAU and the grassroots space, I think a large part of it is because these brands are imprinting on these players so much earlier, right? There's a young lady, I don't know if you're familiar. Her name is Kalina Smith. Shout out to Kalina Smith. I don't know if she'll ever see this podcast. However, she's the number one ranked girls high school basketball player in the nation, right?
She the one that's going to South Carolina?
That's Jersey. Kalina's a junior.
Okay. Got you.
Okay, she's about 5'5", small guard. She is exceptional, right? I think she signed with Adidas her sophomore year of high school. So, as great of an opportunity as it is, she now has to be brand conscious at 15, all the way up through the duration of her high school career and college career into what will eventually become a collegiate career. Now, I don't know about you, Lo, but when I was 15, although I was a great kid, what I was not prepared to do was represent Adidas or any brand at that point. What I was prepared to do was represent me. Like I'm gonna kick it. I'm gonna do me, right? I'm gonna represent myself.
I'm gonna go party. I'm gonna go do what a 15-year-old is supposed to do.
Bro, I was really outside in Cleveland. You know what I mean? The way I should have been. But to now carry the responsibility of representing Nike or Adidas or New Balance, it's a lot, and it doesn't.
And you're not even at the pro level. You're not even at the pro level yet.
Because, and not to Kalina, but for any other athlete, what happens if one of you all tears an Achilles your senior year of high school? And it alters, the future of your career. Now, what onus do you still have to that brand? Does that brand still support you? Does that brand still invest in you? Versus somebody like Mike, who, even when Mike got signed, because we got to remember Mike got signed his rookie year, and there were rumblings then like, he ain't done enough. Even though he had won the Olympics, coming in, even though he was who he was, guys were still saying he ain't done enough. And that was Michael Jordan as a rookie. And y'all are signing to Nike at 14 and 15 because you want the BYBL championships?
And they're getting millions of dollars.
But I say all that to say, that goes back to the lack of genuine and authentic personality and the allowance to build and grow into those personalities that the previous generation had. AI was allowed to make mistakes. And Reebok understood that, which is why they continued to back him through the mistakes. Kobe was allowed to make mistakes, which is why after his trial, Nike picked him back up. Right? Those guys were allowed to be there.
Now, because of social media, it's so negative, and I hate that our world, bro. has this trolling culture or negative culture where like it's just a lack of integrity, bro. Where it's like, bro, if people were to expose all the stuff that you've done as a person into the world, how are you going to feel? People are allowed to make mistakes, which is why you and I both, as we started kind of the segment talking about Ja, like I'm not, dude, I'm past all that gun stuff. Like Ja can be a
Yeah,
completely
like come
different
on, bro.
person right now. Like that happened. I don't think that's in the past. I'm gonna say it's in the past because it is.
It
So we're gonna
is.
leave it there. I have nothing else negative to say about that part of Ja. Because off the court, I'll let that be. He has to deal with that with his family, the organization. But I'm not gonna bash that man for that. So to your point, like what you said, part of that what is missing is the authenticity of the players and their attitudes, like because I don't see any of that anymore. Even with the college guys right now, I like hearing Caleb Wilson early
We
in the
talked about
season.
that
Like, hey, I'm
too.
going
Yep.
at y'all, and I hope that we get to hear and see more coverage of those guys, especially come March Madness, because March Madness is going to be a monster this year.
Let me ask you this, staying in the context of this conversation, but
Mm-hmm.
making it a little bit deeper. How much of this do you think is a result of just masculinity changing? Because we could talk about that too as men.
I'm not sure. I'll say that, and the reason why I say I'm
Mm,
not sure is because I think there's so much bottled up into that. I think culturally, there's a lot of things that change, and for whatever reason, we can understand. But there's always been things that have been different. So if we were to go back when we were wearing baggy shorts, right, in basketball,
mm-hmm.
baggy shorts underneath jeans at that is nasty work.
Nasty work.
But if we
So
were like,
nasty.
but remember how we were talking about guys in the NBA wearing them short shorts back then,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's back. And then you had guys wearing bell bottoms and people like that, and then people are wearing them now. So to me, it's kind of it's a weird situation because I think some of it is involved with masculinity. It was within fashion, it's within culture, it's
Mm-hmm.
within time changes. Some things being brought back and how they're being viewed, and also how they're being talked about. So, and another piece, I think a lot of these guys that are coming up and that are being like your top notch players now, sometimes your environment also plays a piece of that piece of masculinity. I grew up in a rough
That's a good
neighborhood,
point.
but also
That's a really good
I'm
point.
not no hood dude. I grew up around it, but I had a different upbringing
As
and
we would call it,
environment.
hood adjacent.
You know what I'm saying? Like there was a
Mm-hmm.
different
Mm-hmm.
hunger, even like how I became what I wanted to become in the work life and all those things. That part of me, that hunger and masculinity, was instilled in me. A lot of these guys, not saying they're not raised by their dads, but a lot of these guys, parents or dads they played professionally. They're probably around
Mm-hmm.
their mothers a whole lot, which I'm not saying other guys were, because a lot of these guys grew up around single parents,
Single
but
parent.
the
Yep.
environment, their neighborhood is different. And I do think sometimes that just plays a part. But overall, do I think that is like one of the major impacts? I don't know, but also I'm kind of 50-50 on like the no. I think it's
Mm.
just times and things change and the kids are gonna adapt and then you're gonna have one kid that comes in and does something completely different and they're gonna follow that. They're gonna do
Mm.
that what that person does.
I I definitely agree with you. It's particularly around how the environment influences not
Mm-hmm.
only the esteem, but also even the relationship that you may have with masculinity and the things that you constitute as masculine. Growing up, I always constituted competing as a very masculine behavior, regardless of who was doing it. I think that's a large part of why women's basketball has gotten really good. It's because I think they have taken what feels like kind of a more masculine approach to competing, right? It feels like girls are like, I want smoke. I don't care who's in front of me, and I'm with that.
Facts.
That is the energy of women's basketball right now, and it's really damn good across all levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, one of the reasons why Kobe was my favorite player was the mentality. It was this anti fragile, I don't give a damn what you do, what you put in front of me. I'm going to conquer it. I'm going to win. That doesn't feel as relevant anymore. That energy. I think there's potential for it to come back,
Hmm.
but to your point,
So I don't. I
really,
don't.
I don't think that energy exists the way that it used to. I think guys are a lot more passive and friendly in their approach to competing.
They're giving everything, bro. And that's why I just think the days of that hunger and that drive is just not coming back. And so that was my one thing that I feel like is missing from the game. Just the want, like that we have to pay guys to be in the NBA dunk contest, and they're not actually superstars. Like, what happened to superstars actually competing in a dunk contest? Like, why do we not look at it as a privilege and an honor from what we saw with Kobe and Vince Carter? Like, why are stars not like you're so
So let
worried
me
about
ask,
what a brand or and just like, bro, the same guys before you did this,
let
and you
me
get
ask you
paid to
this:
do it now.
Do you think? Do you think the kind of the accolades and what they're being given is now the chicken, and the will to want to compete is the egg, or vice versa?
The money they're making.
So you okay?
You don't
So
feel
you
like
all
because
right?
All Star Weekend was really used for athletes to expose themselves to people
Right.
because now you don't have all this social media and brand and all like that was part of your branding. You have your shoe that comes out, you do certain stuff like commercials, all that during All Star Weekend was where you did your promo and to market yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now these guys do this all year round, off season podcasts during the season. They may have their own podcast. So to me, it's a lack of, and I can't speak for what they go through during the All Star Weekend. All I hear is that always so much is this, and that, and we're
So much
tired.
work and this and that.
To
Right.
me, what I hear as a fan is that, and again, there may be too much going on where NBA may need to work to dial some of that back. What they have to do is scale some of that back. But to me, I hear the same. I just hear excuses of what guys before you did. Like, bro, we're both in a fraternity, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's things that people did before us, and some things may change, but some stuff is going to be traditional. These people did it before you. This is the same thing. Like there's a rubric. And to me, sometimes there's just to be a that you should have some honor or privilege and be and understand that privilege of playing in the NBA.
I agree with you.
But guys not wanting to, a lot of guys openly saying, "I don't care about NBA All Star and you're All Star," or you not want to compete. To me, I just hate that lack of want. When I'm like, man, how can you admire Kobe and you're a star and you don't want to be in a dunk contest and you can dunk?
And and that's by and large my point. Where is the same drive to want to compete at the highest level against anybody? That it doesn't feel like that is the overall temperament of the NBA. I think some guys have it. Wemby definitely has it. Right? I
Yes, and
think at times
I
Shea
hope
has it.
more
I
we get
think
more
Ant has
guys
it.
like that.
But I just,
Hmm.
yeah, I guess ultimately that's what I'm saying.
Hope we get more guys like that.
I want to see that energy resurface, especially out of the American players. But you're
And
right.
hopefully that turns back up, man.
Yeah,
Because we need it. And
we need
to me,
it.
that's the fiery part of the game that I love and still love when I hoop, bro. It's just I'm not even playing for nothing, but I'm competing. I'm playing defense. Like I ain't got nothing to play for. I'm not going to the league. But again, that's just who I am as a person, like that competitiveness, and hopefully that starts to come back with this new draft class.
Yeah, man. I'm looking
One
forward to
last
it.
topic, man, that we got, man. I know it's kind of a quick hitter, but Austin Reeves allegedly, or people are saying that he approached Rich Paul. Of course, he didn't go hit him, nothing like that. But approached him about Rich Paul's comments about Austin Reeves being involved in trade talks, and of course, I think most of us can see how that can be a conflict of interest, as you
Facts.
represent LeBron James on the Los Angeles Lakers, and his teammate is Austin Reeves, who's on the Los Angeles Lakers, and we know how powerful Rich Paul has been to the NBA and how he has been able to orchestrate deals as one of the top, not one of the top leading dog as an NBA agent. Is Rich Paul wrong for having a podcast, and is he wrong for his statements?
Bro, I was so looking forward to getting into this conversation. And we talked about that a little before we started recording. But there's so many layers to this. I don't think he's necessarily wrong for the podcast.
You
I don't think it's a great look, but I don't think he's wrong for having a podcast. He is dead wrong for having Austin Reeves' name in his mouth. Like that is
in
mad
that manner.
inappropriate.
Yeah, in that manner.
Yeah, like don't speak on my money. Don't speak on my future. Don't speak on my opportunities. Like you don't manage me. Like why do you have any impression or any opinion about what I should be doing with my career, especially in relation to your client who's a teammate of mine?
And
Right? Like
that's messing me, like that
it's so
relationship. It's like,
weird.
bro, like I'm bro, like, hey, bro, like talk to your man's like
With
what's
your man's.
you over here telling people the world how good I am, but then your man's over here and we know how powerful his voice is telling him to trade me. You think people ain't listening to that? Agents like, you know what, shoot, maybe come on now.
And to be fair, the take that Rich has, I think, is baseless. And then you're just wrong. Like it just doesn't make sense. Why would the Lakers trade a 27-year-old averaging 27? Why? Why would they do that? Why would that make
Yeah.
sense?
Unless you're able to get Anthony Edwards or something like that.
You just go, yeah, unless you're gonna get back the same thing. But yeah, like, no, that
But
makes no sense.
he's your secondary player.
And a
Not
part of
actually
your
be your first.
future. Nigga, how about we trade your client, the 41-year-old? How about we trade him?
No, you're not lying, bro. And people saying he's not tradable. I'm like, because he doesn't have a no trade clause, but I'm
Like
pretty
if we
sure
don't
if he
have a
didn't have no trade
conversation,
clause, they would probably be looking at it because right now they're dropping we had our last
yeah,
podcast and I said I think the Lakers are going to start to drop.
which absolutely right.
And again, you've been dropping. You don't have Austin Reeves. And that's the guy you talked about getting rid of. But for me, I just thought it was this tasteless because, again, LeBron has spoke highly of him, and then here you go saying to
Right.
trade this man. Like to me, that's just disrespectful. And I think Rich Paul may regret it. I don't know. Again, he's a giant at what he does. I don't think he needed to say anything like that.
Yeah,
Because you are Rich Paul, like that's a conversation you have amongst people, even if you feel that way, or even if people feel like that is a good trade to make. I don't think he is the person that should be saying that. We need to be saying that. We ain't have
correct.
no skin in this game. We can sit here and say trade Austin Reeves for a bag of peanuts, and no one's going to bat an eye. Like we can say that, but Rich Paul, I don't think he should be doing that. Again, the podcast I think is good for him to have if he wants to have a voice. Some people feeling different. That's their opinion, but I do think that comment was out of line.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Austin Reeves' agent addressed it. You have to draw a line in the sand regardless of whom it is you're having to kind of interact with. We know how powerful not only Rich Paul's agency, but in relation to LeBron James, how powerful they have been.
And everybody ever.
But yeah, that was totally out of line, bro. That was totally out of line. And now I'm under the impression that are y'all just saying wild shit just to drive engagement?
Because like you
'Cause
don't
it
need to
feels
do
like
that.
every episode is something else wilder than the episode before.
And he don't need to do that. I'm like, people are like, oh, he's just podding. I'm like, he's Rich Paul and Max Kellerman. You all
You
have
don't have to
names.
do this, brother.
Again, that is something that you and I should be doing, and we're not.
Like, ain't your wife a dad? Aren't you busy?
You
You're
don't
busy.
need to. You don't need to do anything clickbait worth. And again, people can say he got his own opinions, thoughts, but like to me, it very much feels very clickbaitish. And I'm like, you all don't
I agree
have
with
to
that.
do. You all don't got to stoop to that level.
And Max
Rich,
Kellerman,
you're too good of
like
a name, and Max Kellerman, like you don't got to do that.
Come on. So I would be curious to see how long the podcast continues to like. I don't know if this is something that would exist past whatever their season 1 is going to be. I think this is like a pilot, and you guys evaluate some of the feedback. But I don't have a whole lot of interest in watching it.
Yeah,
With all due respect to those gentlemen.
And this, I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's an interesting pairing, but
yeah,
I just with the position that Rich Paul is in, to me, it's a little weird. Like, where you are a top dog. Like, I don't want to see Adam Silver have a podcast. Adam Silver is discussing and talking about unless he's actually talking about like
Oh
NBA
my God.
affairs and things that like, hey,
Right.
we're gonna talk about the
Governance.
European League. We're gonna talk about the European League. We're gonna
Right.
talk about how the CBA works. We're gonna talk about like I don't want to hear him saying if Adam Silver goes out and say, you know what, man, I watched the Lakers in the championship. You know, I
Yo.
think they need to get rid of LeBron because he's 41. Bro, you know
Yeah,
how
that's
bad that
wild,
is?
bro. That's wild.
I know people probably gonna say, "Oh, you can't compare Rich Paul to Adam Silver." Bruh, Rich Paul at the top of his game, he's the top person in his industry, the same as Adam Silver is the top
Right.
person in
Right.
his industry. So I can't compare the two. They're two top dogs in what they do. But again, there's a time and a place to me to say certain things. And it's almost like, bro, if you are close with somebody that I may not know us personally, but I know somebody connect with them, and you're like, y'all are really cool friends. And you tell me something, you tell me their business. And then I go tell somebody else and it gets back to them. And then they're like, bro, like, why? Now they looking at you crazy, like, bro,
Like, come on, bro.
why you tell my, like, why you
That's
tell my
facts.
business? That is all that situation was to me. It's like, bro, that's you almost breaking code. You don't do that.
Yeah, come on, man. Stop being messy. Being a messy
Like,
man.
and now Austin
What are
Reeves
we
is gonna be
doing?
around you. Now, if Austin Reeves gets traded, then what's the situation gonna look like? Then what? Because if he gets traded, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's gonna look real bad, and I think players are gonna be like, should I sign with Rich Paul?
And do
But
I
if
want
that
to play on the team
happens,
with LeBron?
and I
Because
think that's the time I think it's done. We saw it with Russ. We talked about that. I'm not gonna get into it, but again, LeBron's had an incredible career, and I'm glad
of
LeBron
course.
did at least mention and kind of stuck out for Austin Reeves. If I were LeBron, and again, I'm not, but I would have said like, "Hey, I don't like the comments that Rich said. Yes, he has his
Yeah.
own thoughts, but like, I fully disagree with that. He shouldn't have said that. Also, is my guy, so like, Rich Paul can kick rocks. And I think you can say something like that because Rich Paul is your homie, so you can joke and be like, "Man, bro, shut up," like, because that's your
Yeah,
homie,
kind of
bro. We
circle
can
back
talk
with
like
him
that,
and yeah, close the loop. But
bro, stop, like, yeah. But we'll see, man.
yeah,
I'm
man.
interested. I'm gonna see when the next one is. I'm gonna watch the full one and see what comes out
Yep.
next because
Those
I'm
fire
pretty sure
takes.
they may have another conversation referring to this, and I want to see how that goes. So job done because now you get me to come watch
That's what I'm
the
saying. They
podcast.
figured something out. They figured the formula out for sure.
But again, they ain't gotta do that. Like, bro, you Rich Paul and Max Kellerman, like, bro, we already tuned in when we
Yeah.
heard that you had a podcast.
But
Off your
and it's
name.
the virality of discourse.
Off
Everybody
your
want to
name,
be viral.
man. But before we go, I just want to say,
Yeah.
man, I'm not sure if you tapped in, but I know you tapped in. Who are you picking tomorrow? I mean, Monday.
I'm gonna ride with Miami, man.
Yeah, I'm about to end this podcast.
No, man. I shout out to the Hoosiers, man. They've had an incredible
We
season.
going?
Seriously,
Yeah, I'm going with the
I'm
home
riding for your
team.
Hoosiers, bro. I'm gonna ride with your
I'm going
Hoosiers.
with the home
I'm
team,
fucking
man.
with you.
I
No, man,
think
they look good. Seriously.
they look really good, bro. They're disciplined, and of course, I ain't never like been an Indiana football fan. You know, we
Yeah, but it's
basketball,
home
but
team.
with Indiana, bro, we gonna ride for the home team, bro. Every single time. We a small city, bro. You can't go against
No, it looks good.
go
They look
against
really
can't
good,
go
bro.
against that. So
IU for the
that's
dub.
why I'm
I
yeah,
know that's
man.
right. You gotta rep it, bro.
IU, bro. They listen. If any of
Let's go
y'all watch
Hoosiers.
this or see this, bro, go Hoosiers, get the dub. But no, we appreciate y'all watching. Please continue to
Absolutely,
tune
man.
in, like, subscribe, comment, check out our Instagram, check out our YouTube
Please.
page. We post a lot on there as well. So, Chris, anything else you got for him?
Man, it was a pleasure as always. Can't wait to see the engagement in the comments. Look out for the next episode.